All right, what's up? It's Jordan back here again, Jordan's Corner, episode 6. Today, it's Sunday morning. I just strolled down here about 4 miles or so from my place. Nice little morning walk, jog kind of deal. I'm right here by the bay. Check this out. You can see some, I think it's a destroyer, some other ships in the background. There's a lot of shipyards out here in Virginia. Check it out. Yeah, I don't know. So anyway, what I want to talk about today is block periodization. Whenever I say this or whenever somebody writes about it, instantly they think the person's really, really smart and really, really credible, which is kind of true. Usually, if you know about block periodization, you've read at least some of the what I consider standard texts in the training world, and this is kind of like one of the oldest, most tried and true methods for getting people stronger, getting people bigger, getting people more athletic and closer to where they want to be for anyone outside of straight up novice athlete. This is, we use linear periodization for novices and early intermediates. That is, they're going to add weight to the bar on the same exercise, either weekly, each time they train, or in some sort of regulated fashion. For advanced athletes, it doesn't really work like that. And anybody that's kind of been training for a while and not seeing progress in the same rep range every week is probably not a straight up intermediate anymore, despite what people say on the internet. So anyway, block periodization is basically organizing your training into blocks, which generally are anywhere between 2 to 6 weeks long, and those have a specific goal in mind. And generally the most publicized, well-known kind of method. Basically, you're going to have an accumulation phase. That is, say for 3, 4, 5, or 6 weeks, you're going to have more volume in your training. We're talking 5x5, 4 sets of 6, 6 sets of 8, stuff like that. And basically, you're just this is like a hypertrophy stuff. You're also going to have more movements in your training day, and basically you're just going to try to overload and accumulate volume, accumulate size. You're going to have more conditioning work in here because you're going to try to basically throw everything in, and then you're going to start tapering back from there. And the theory behind this is you make a bigger muscle, it's going to have more potential for strength. You're going to taper back on your volume. You're going to have more energy and more recovery capacity to be stronger, to be more athletic, to have more power, stuff like that. So yeah, that's the accumulation phase. The second one is the transmutation phase. And again, this generally tends to be a little shorter than the accumulation phase, but 3, 4, 5 weeks is totally normal. And the volume goes down a little bit, the weights get heavier, the amount of movements you do go down, the amount of conditioning work that's not specific to your sport or goal goes down. So if you're a competitive lifter, you're not going to be doing sandbag, carries or anything like that. You might just stick to pushing the prowler, dragging a sled, and doing some kettlebell work. A little bit more specific than some of this other stuff. So that's the second phase. The third phase is going to be the intensification phase or competition phase. And generally, this is 2 or 3 weeks, right before you taper for a meet. Or some coaches like to run it right into a meet. So that's going to be even heavier. Almost complete elimination of all assistant stuff that's taxing. So you might just do bench press, band pull aparts, and some posterior shoulder work and tricep work, and get out of the gym. You're not going to be doing all extra stuff. And so that's why you only run it though for 2 or 3 weeks, because you're actually going to your fitness and strength and conditioning is actually going to decrease if you run it for any longer, just because you don't have enough volume to keep that stimulated. So that's why it's a little bit shorter. So, people are saying oh, I like this block periodization stuff. How do I run it if I've got a meet in, 4 months or 5 months? 5 months, you got 20 weeks. Well, you'll probably just run through the cycles twice. And, your intensification intensification phase might only be 1 week. It's basically like a test week. You're going to test out your 1 rep max to see where you're at, and that's going to dictate your training. A lot of this stuff is based on percentages. So what you need to do, because I can't do this all in a video podcast, but block periodization is pretty cool, and it definitely teaches you a lot about kind of programming your own training. which is definitely where you should be moving. If you're kind of that late intermediate, early advanced kind of athlete, you definitely should be playing around with your own programming. I definitely believe if you've got a lot of knowledge and you've been in the game for a long time, you should probably have somebody else do your programming, just because you actually know too much and you're a hazard. You know too much, you read too much, and it's hard to get out of your own head sometimes. So that's my little spiel on that. But if you want to read more about this block periodization stuff, there's a lot of Google references. You just search block periodization. Sometimes they like to spell block just BLOC because it's from the Russians. Super training. Everyone wants to quote Super Training. That's by Mel Siff and Dr. Zetsiorsky. I don't know if anyone really knows how to pronounce that guy's last name, but that book sucks. It's a good reference text, but I tell you what, I mean, I've read almost everything under the sun, and I'm in medical school, like pretty well-read kind of guy, and half the stuff in there doesn't make any sense at all. So you can buy it. You can feel real cool talking about super training, but you might get that book just to say that you've tried to read it. That's fine. And Google around for some other stuff. There's another one written by Zetsiorsky and Backley. He's the NSCA guy. He wrote The Essentials of Strength Conditioning, and he wrote, it's like Periodization for Sports or something. I forget the exact title of the book, but these are good references for block periodization. So yeah, if you're a novice, early intermediate, you can still actually add weight to the bar each time you go into the gym, or every week or every other week, stuff like that. Don't worry about this. But if you've been kind of, if your max or max with reps hasn't gone up, 10 or 15 pounds in the last 6 weeks or so, definitely start thinking about some block periodization. At least try it out. Maybe it's too complicated and your lifestyle is not going to support it, but you should at least know about it. You should always have it in your back pocket for when you really want to make a run at getting stronger, getting bigger, or really going after something. So, all right, it's been Jordan, episode 6, and we'll catch you guys next time. Later.